Welcome back to another episode of Beauty and the
Welcome,
Greek.
welcome.
How you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling great. I got this vanilla latte from Verve that I've been milking for a hot minute. It tastes delicious, and I feel great. I feel blessed to live another day, spend another quality podcast with you, with the people.
Opa.
Opa.
I feel
Welcome back. Oh, I'm
I feel like
sorry.
when I say Opa, it sounds so southern. I'm like Opa.
You're like, Opa. It's like, Opa. It's like the P is almost a B.
Opa.
Nice.
Opa.
Opa.
I like it that.
How you doing today, Caitlin? How you feeling, Mama?
I'm okay. You got me a coffee, so I'm like a little cracked out on coffee right now, but that's okay.
Oh,
But I had to because I stayed up really late last night watching The Bear after you fell asleep.
Bone, I wanted to pick with you about that. We have certain shows that we decide, hey, we're gonna watch this one together. Like we have one called Succession that I have been patiently waiting for months and months and months for my lovely girlfriend to catch up on. She hasn't done, but she broke the cardinal rule last night, which was continuing to watch the show after old Billy Boy here was asleep.
I know it's like such a bad thing to do and you shouldn't do
Mm.
it, but I gotta admit, it feels really good to just stay up by myself and watch a show.
So that's what having your shows are for. I go to sleep throwing a little Gossip Girl, a little D'Amelio show, whatever you're interested in these days.
Okay, but like I can't help that you fall asleep. It's so good. It's so good that you can fall asleep. How is that even possible?
Because after a certain time, the old man in me just says, you know what, time to shut it down. After about 11 p.m., if the lights have been off for over an hour, the eyelids are slowly just disintegrating into my
I
face.
know I hit you for like 15 minutes, like every 5 seconds, and then I just give up after that.
My entire my entire life though growing up, you have to understand something. I went to bed with whether it was stand-up comedy on, whether it was an audiobook, my dad telling me stories, something on the TV. There was always something on, and I know that's not good. I know that's bad, but like I said, an hour with the lights off, with the screen on, that's like the formula for me to pass out.
See, I cannot go to sleep with something playing. That's so bad for you. Like you're not getting actual quality rest. You know that, right?
Hey, look, I wake up feeling refreshed. I got my baby next to me. I got my shoulders
But wait, let's
rolling.
back up. Your dad was telling you stories to help you fall asleep. That's very sweet.
It is. My dad told me like the same like three tales. Me and my brother, like we would request them every night. Like, please, please. The one he told the most was the ransom of Red Chief, which was basically a story about this kid getting held hostage and him not really like having any sort of fear or anxiety about the fact he's being kidnapped. And like the parents are like, oh, don't worry, Red Chief will be fine. Their demands for money keep going up, but he's just like, oh, he's having the best time. But finally, they just like give the kid back. That was our bedtime story. And we found it hilarious like every day. But yeah, he would tell us some stories and make us laugh before going to bed. It was very sweet.
That's really cute. My
Yeah.
grandmother used to tell me my friend's scary stories, and one time she told this one about this like guy with a hook for a hand and whatever. Anyways, so it was like pretty scary for children, right? And so my friend's over and we're having a little like
Mm.
bonfire, like roasted marshmallows. My grandmother's telling this story, and my friend pees her pants.
You That's so sad. Oh my goodness. Granny just said, I'm going to get these kids today.
Have you ever peed your pants because you've been so scared?
I have not. No, I've actually never peed my pants.
That's such a lie.
I after a certain age, okay, I'll come on camera and say I've pooped my pants. I've done that as an adult. I have, age 21, I believe was the last time I did that. So yeah, I promise I would admit if I had peed my pants, but no, not something that I have done ever. Not even when I was drunk, not in my sleep, nothing.
Overrated, underrated. Roasted marshmallows, like on a fire.
Okay, I'm gonna say overrated.
What?
Overrated. At the end of the day, the marshmallow flavor kind of gets old after like one or two of the s'mores. The crackers are cool. They're dry. The Hershey's chocolate is solid, but everything together just gets a little bit messy. You know what? You know what s'mores represents to me and marshmallows roasting in general? It's like
What?
there's something romantic about it. It's cinematic. It's an experience that we see and we live as a kid. We're like, wow, s'mores. And it just never lives up to the hype.
I like to make myself sick because I eat too many. Like I can't help it. I have to. I also like burn mine. I want to catch it on fire and then blow it out like a
Were
candle.
you going camping so often that this was like a regular thing or what?
No, we just like kind of lived in the woods. So making fires was something a lot of people did like all the time. Like I
Hmm.
probably had roasted marshmallows once a week.
What?
Yeah.
That is, hey, shout out to you're keeping up the like the s'mores image alive by yourself.
My friend would have a house parties and we would literally make a fire outside and drink like four locos and roast marshmallows, which in hindsight, we shouldn't have done that. Like someone did get burnt once
Oh.
because they were trying to jump over the fire. It happens.
I
It's
feel I
fine.
feel like s'mores like it has to be pronounced like whenever I see the word s'mores, I hear it in my head as like s'mores.
What?
I don't know why. That's just like how it is in my head. Like sometimes like you see a word and you hear it in your head. To me, s'mores is s'mores.
Ew, I hate that. That makes me not like s'mores.
But like, you want some s'mores? You know what I mean? Like,
Who's asking? Who is
you
this
ever seen The
person?
Sandlot? I feel like this comes from The Sandlot.
No.
This is like a boy baseball movie. Like every guy my age pretty much has seen The Sandlot at some point.
Well, I haven't seen. I've seen like
It's a
30 movies
classic.
total, so.
The Sandlot is a classic. But yes, we are watching The Bear.
Oh, after the Christmas episode, well, the Christmas episode by itself, amazing. After that, the show is so good. Season two, by the way, season one's amazing, but season two takes a little bit because they got to set up some backstories, you know. And then after the Christmas episode, it's amazing. It's like about life
No
and
spoilers.
love.
No spoilers.
I'm just saying it's about like life and love and perspective and how people can change, and it's really beautiful. I cried last night while he was asleep.
You're just out here just wailing. I'm just
I'm
fucking
like
dead.
wiping tears off your shoulder. You're like not even noticing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a lot of people don't know this about me. I worked in restaurants for a long time. I went to culinary school. I did the whole thing. I thought this was going to be my life for a while. And some of the stuff in that show is not triggering, but I'm just like, oh my gosh. I remember that working for nightmare chefs, having nightmare guests, everything and anything going wrong in these restaurants. Like it's a pretty grimy industry. I'm sure a lot of people can understand and relate. It's very beneficial to I think everybody's life, and also could be detrimental at the same time.
I was saying yesterday that everyone in the world should be required to work a service job, like particularly in a restaurant.
It makes you at least understand, like, hey, these jobs are really really hard, and
Yeah.
you gotta really keep up with a bunch of assholes.
Oh
It's
yeah.
tough, and that's front of the house, back of the house, guests, partners. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of bullshit you got to deal with.
I feel like you learn patience, you build character, you learn a lot about people, and then you don't treat serving staff like shit.
Yeah, I think, and that's funny too. I mean, anytime this isn't like rocket science, but if you go on a date with somebody and they're not being particularly nice or even being rude to the hosts, the bussers, the servers, it's like that's a giant red flag and something you should look out for.
Yeah, it just shows that obviously you're a rude person, but I think it also shows just like lack of understanding and humanity.
Totally. And I don't think that if someone isn't like over the top friendly, it's necessarily a red flag. But if you're out with someone and you notice that they're being particularly nice and very good to all the staff, that's something that should indicate to you that they have a certain level of understanding and like patience with people in the world.
Yeah, very true.
Should we get into the Greek word and the beauty product of the day?
Wait, I want you to give me an overrated, underrated. This is a game. Anytime we're with anyone, we play overrated, underrated.
Okay. Overrated, underrated flip flops.
Okay. Sandals or like particularly flip flops, like the thing is going in between your toe.
Any sort of flip-flop, sandal, open toe experience?
I'm going to say underrated. I have a pair of white Birkenstocks
Underrated.
that are beat to shit that I've had for like 4 years, and I use those every single day.
I just thought of something too. Something that the fashion world kind of needs to take note of. Where are and maybe there has been some of these in existence, but like, how do you dress up super formal, whether that's a suit, whether that's a dress? I don't know. Give me some open toe vibes as a guy. Like, maybe I want to wear a suit with some flip flops.
Look,
I want
I'm
the gators to breathe, baby. Is that such a crime?
okay. Well, we're going to Greece, and I need some shoes that are like sandals that look nice because I need sandals to walk around. But I'm going to say one thing about guys and their toes being out.
I got beautiful toes, so just be careful what you say
I
here,
don't
baby.
I don't love seeing a guy's toes out. I don't love seeing a guy in sandals.
Is that an ick? Because that sounds like a personal problem that you gotta deal with, my love. Because I will spread them things out in your face, in your dome ski,
Will
make
thinks
you taste them
he
things.
thinks he has the most like beautiful feet ever.
I got gorgeous feet. Now, one weird thing about me, can I curl my toes? No, I can't. Is it weird? Yeah. Am I embarrassed by it? Yeah. Do I wish I could do it? Yeah.
He tries to like curl his toes and he's like pointing his toe like a it's
Here's
so
the
cute. It's
here.
like
Ready? Ready? I wish I could do it.
beautiful toe point, babe. You're
But
doing
if we're
great.
talking purely aesthetic, that arch, gorgeous.
Your
Toenails, beautiful.
your big toenail is like 5 times the size of a normal person's toenail.
Yeah.
I actually don't really have pinky toenails. Fun fact.
That was also pretty wild. Something I discovered recently, that your nails are literally the size of like a grain of rice on your pinky toe.
Yeah, it's really ugly. I have horrible feet.
Oh, whoa, whoa! It's not ugly. I love your toes. I'd be sucking on them things like Jolly Ranchers, baby. All 5 of them. Well, that was 4. There we go.
All right, what's the Greek word of the day?
The Greek word of the day today is an amazing word. The word is meraki. It's kind of like when you put something, a little bit of yourself into everything you're doing. And it's a really beautiful word. And I think it describes the Greek culture. We're very passionate as a people, and we like to leave pieces of us into the things we do.
Baraki.
Meraki.
Meraki.
Nice. It's kind of like philotimo in the sense that there's not like a direct translation, but yeah, meraki.
Meraki.
Baby, what is our beauty product of the day? What have you been gatekeeping for me once again, darling?
Well, I haven't been gatekeeping. So yesterday, Will and I go to the beach, and I told him, I said the UV is 9, and when their clouds are out, sometimes it's even stronger. And he's like, no, 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 it isn't. That doesn't make any sense. The sun isn't out. Yada yada yada. My sunburn on my back and on
Whoa.
his back,
Whoa.
but mine especially.
Whoa.
I was wearing a high-waisted bikini, and it looks so crazy. So
Burnt to a crisp.
So we rubbed lotion on each other, obviously. And this lotion is no, okay, so I get really obsessed with like certain things that I use for like my body. And this lotion, I've been using it for probably like 3 years now. And it's good, right?
The one in the yellow bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Hold on, I have it. I'll show you. It's this one. Alba Botanica Very Emollient Body Lotion Maximum. And so it really hydrates you.
Maximum hydration.
You can feel it. Like, it actually is one of the best lotions ever. I'll link it in the show notes for you. But seriously, it's amazing.
I will say this. My back got pretty crispy yesterday. Woke up today, no itch. Feeling
Same.
good. I'm in a sweater. I'm lying using my back. I feel good.
Me too. My sunburn's like almost gone, which is good because we're going to Joshua Tree tomorrow and it's going to be 103 degrees outside.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's going to be an amazing trip. We are going to get lobster status.
For sure.
SPF 200 on deck.
It's our base tan for Greece.
Oh, man. So really quickly before we get into what we're talking about today, when are we going to Greece? What is our itinerary? We have some exciting news for y'all.
We're going on July 22nd, and we're spending like a week and a half in Athens. Ooh. And then we're spending a week in Mykonos.
Party.
And then we're spending a week in Naxos.
Chill out.
And then we're spending a week in Milos.
Exploration.
And then we're going back to Athens for like 2 days. And okay, while we're in Athens, we might do a little day trip somewhere. while we're in Naxos, we can go to what's it called?
Kufonicia.
Kufanisia. Yeah, it's like supposed to be really beautiful, really small. So we might take a few little like detours. We have a lot of time there.
There's a couple islands that are just right off of these major islands that are super beautiful, and everybody and anyone who's trying to plan a trip next year, because it's a little bit late notice now, Kufunicia and Folegandros, two unbelievable islands, both of them with some of the nicest beaches in Greece. So yeah, we're very, very excited.
I feel like I'm getting so well versed in like Greece and like where all the islands are because I'm
You
we've
are.
been planning this and like someone was asking me about recommendations for like Mykonos and then what to do. She has like 2 extra days before and I was like, oh well, you can go to Tinos because it's right there and then it's like a 45-minute ferry. I'm like, I'm learning shit over here.
Tino's has had a revival too. I don't know if we're going to be able to get there this trip, but it's a stunning, stunning island. I mean, the thing about Greece is when you're trying to like map out your itinerary, it's like you can't really go wrong. So, every island kind of has its own little flavor, but you know, we'll see. Athens, Mykonos, Naxo, Milo. That was a bar. That kind of rhymed.
All right, baby. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are going to be talking about how to build healthy relationship habits. This is part 2 of the series that we have from last episode where we talked about communication. And this episode, we're going to be talking about using your time effectively, how to kind of organize that in the best way, do's and don'ts, how to handle things, and how to handle time together, how to handle time with your friends and family, and how to handle time apart and spend that time alone from each other.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Let's get into it.
All right, baby. All right, first we're going to be talking about spending time together, obviously. And of course, going on dates. And I feel like a lot of people neglect going on dates the longer they're together. There's like the courting in the beginning, and you're going on dates and you're trying to think of fun, creative things to do. And then you're dating for a while, and a lot of people just stop doing that, especially if you're living together, because you're like, well, we're together all the time. And we'll talk more about that later. You shouldn't be together all the time. But I think like you really have to figure out how to spend quality time together and going on dates, like, duh.
Duh. And there's a lot of amazing dates you can do just outside of going to dinner, which is the classic, or going to a movie, which is the classic. I'll say, with us living together, I've even been bad about it at times. It happens where you realize, okay, I'm so comfortable. We're living together. We're in the kind of natural routines of life. And it's easy to kind of forget and neglect about it. And I think that we both do a pretty good job really focusing on that, but it happens with everybody. There are times where you're just going to neglect that aspect a bit. And I think that continuing to go on dates, treating each other like you're still crushing on each other, and doing things for one another that have that romantic feel to it outside of the house is really important as well.
Yeah, and if that happens or like has happened in your relationship, it doesn't have to be like the biggest deal or a
No
big
biggie.
fight. You can just be like, I kind of noticed like we don't really go on dates that often, or you just plan a date and plan something fun to like kick it off. You
That's
know
a
what I mean?
that's a really good point. And I would say that a lot of times, as the guy, I feel like it is not necessarily our responsibility, but it kind of is for us to say, "Hey, I got this date plan. Let's get something going." I would say even the majority of the time, if you kind of feel like you haven't been going on too many dates, it might not be anything other than just time, not thinking about it, and kind of to your point, let them know. In the last episode, we talked about communication. If you feel like, hey, I want to be going on more dates, or I want to be doing some more special stuff one on one, let your partner know. And I don't think, for the most part, there's going to be really much pushback. And if there is, and it's something that you find important, and that's good that you brought it up, because that's something that y'all are going to have to address for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people just kind of get stuck in their routines and then they're like, "Oh, well, I don't have time for like a date or whatever." They don't even really think about it. It's just like, "Well, we're in this routine, like we see each other, whatever." But I think what you can do to get out of that, like Will said, yeah, there's like the dinner date, the movie date, whatever, but do something like go on a picnic,
What
go
are
to
your
the
what are your
beach.
favorite? What is like your favorite date that I take you on? Whether that's outside of just, let's say, going to eat or going to a movie.
I
What's your favorite?
I love a good beach day
Mm,
where like,
me
you
too.
go, you pick up food, you pick up wine or beer or whatever, and you're together all day at the beach. Maybe you grab a bite on the way back. Like that's a really you're spending like quality time together. You're
Mm.
talking, you're listening to music. I like that. I love no one goes on picnics anymore. Great date.
Picnics are awesome. Picnic
So much
dates are
fun.
phenomenal.
We also go to Dave and Buster's because, it's close and
I
Will
was gonna
loves it.
say, I think that one of the most underrated date ideas for anyone like looking to kind of spice things up in your dating life, but going to an arcade, whether that's a beercade or a Dave and Buster's, or going to play games, a carnival, something where y'all can be kind of competitive with one another, but you're obviously not taking it very seriously. It's a really good way to have fun, get that youthful spirit kind of going, but also it's like a really cool bonding time and just a way that you can kind of see like, oh, it's a really good way to be playful, I think, and it's a good space to do that. Everyone's having fun. You're at an arcade. I don't know. I think people sleep on the arcade a little bit.
And the playful thing is a good point. A lot of people ask the question, like, how do you spice things up or like keep things spicy, like whatever, if you've been in a relationship for a while. And that's how you keep things playful. You make time for spontaneity, which I know sounds silly, but you gotta like leave time in your week and your month to be like spontaneous and be like, hey, we're gonna go do this thing. If you keep things playful, that's how you keep things spicy because you're not taking yourself so seriously.
Completely agree. And I think that goes kind of into the next aspect of spending time. I think going on a vacation with your partner is extremely important, whether that's going to see family, whether that's going a trip 30 minutes outside of where you're all at, whether that's going to another country. Pop in, go on a little vacation, take some time away from the life that you're kind of living, the city that you're at, and see how y'all are together outside of both of your elements. It's not only going to be hopefully really really fun, and kind of spark that playfulness again and that youthful energy. It's going to be a good way to see, hey, how is this person when we are out of our element? It's going to be a good way to kind of gauge where you're at in terms of how well you're connecting with each other.
That's a good point because you're out of your element, right? So it truly is just you and your person like plopped into another place. If you're like newly dating someone, I feel like the first vacation you go on is like a make or break. That's going to be telling
Totally,
because
totally.
some people you just can't you like this person until you go on vacation with them, right?
I think we've all been there probably.
For sure. And also on the vacation thing, it's like, you could go somewhere that you've been before and something you always do. But I think going somewhere new to where you don't really know what's going on and you two figuring it out together, that's really cool because you're like having fun, but you're also accomplishing something together. You're seeing new things, you're learning new things. Like, that's a really special experience. And like Will said, you don't have to go out of the country. You could go somewhere
Totally.
30 minutes outside of where you live that both of you have never been before.
Yeah, going on a vacation is just is it's going to not only bring y'all closer together no matter what. It's going to be an experience that you're hopefully going to remember forever. Good or bad, you'll probably remember it further. I was so bummed because I was like, I'm going to take Kate to Greece for the first time. It's going to be amazing. And then when I brought up to her, she's like, "Oh yeah, I've been to Greece."
He hates that.
I was like, "Oh no, 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 you didn't." And so I Men in Black like erased it from her memory. So last time I went to Greece last summer was her first time there. It was really special and really nice.
Exactly, exactly.
But for real, go on vacation with your person, whether it's to another country or 15 minutes outside the place you live. It'll be a really special experience.
And I think you should try to do things like that out of your element at least a few times a year. It can literally be a night somewhere, but I think it's important to keep that in mind and not just be like, yeah, we're going to go on vacation one day eventually. Like make it a real priority.
Yeah, and again, it helps break up the routine that you guys might have. And the routine might be amazing. There's actually, I think a routine is amazing, but to keep that routine important and to feel like the routine is not boring, you need to throw in a couple of these things to keep spicing up your life and to realize, hey, I really, really love my life with this human being.
Yeah, I think it makes you really appreciate each other more.
The opposite of the vacation though is what? Staying in the crib. This is most of the time, like especially if you're both working and living together. both of us, for example, work at home, the time that we spend at the house is very, very important. And I wouldn't say tricky, but we do have to make sure that we are giving each other a healthy amount of time together in the house outside of the things that we are doing to, again, keep life in the house very fresh. Does that make sense?
Can you explain a little further? I don't really know what you mean.
Yes, I think that it's important to, of course, get a routine, a daily routine in the house, but you don't want to be doing the exact same things at your house every single day, whether that's playing a game, watching a movie, cooking something, playing with your dog, getting freaky in the bedroom. I don't know.
I
But
know what you're
but
saying. Yeah.
mixing it up in the house in a way that you don't only feel bored doing this routine, but you're kind of mixing things up in your day to day.
Yeah, I do think that's important. Like you said, like trying to cook a new meal that you've never cooked. Doing something a little bit outside of your element every now and then so you're not doing the same exact thing every single day because that's going to drive anyone crazy. And you think about it, I think it's easier almost even to fall into routines with a partner. Like when you're alone and you get bored, you're going to try something new. You're like, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm by myself. Like what can I do?" Like do that with your partner.
I agree, and I think it's also important to note as well. Oh, there's a little fly. I think, geez, Louise, it's attacking us. I think it's important to note also you can hang out and spend a lot of time together in the house without speaking to one another. I think that is a sign of a very healthy relationship when you can kind of turn your social battery off, but you can still kind of exist. There's what's the phrase that a lot of the phrase is that guys don't want to be alone, but they want to be by themselves.
Like being alone together or whatever.
Yeah, this fly is
I'm
really,
watching it like attack your
oh
beard.
my gosh, it's
Should I
crazy.
slap you next time it's on your face?
Yes, I won't press charges. But I think that there's something to be said about being able to sit shoulder to shoulder with your partner and completely be doing independent things, being able to look over every 10 minutes, smile, give each other a smooch, and to keep doing what you're doing. I think there's something powerful about that too. And I feel like the sign of a really good friendship or a really good relationship is when you can just kind of hang out without having to speak to one another too.
Yeah, that's the worst when you're like on because someone's around and you feel like you have to be, and there are just certain people that like you can't really relax with. I couldn't imagine like living with someone or being with someone that I'm dating and having to be like really like on and like making sure like they're good and everything's like, you know what I'm saying? That would
Oh,
be exhausting.
it is the absolute worst. This last one might be a little bit controversial, but I also think it's very important to spend time together hanging out with each other's friends, whether that's my group of friends, her group of friends, or having kind of both friend groups merged together. I think spending time with your partner amongst these groups in this setting will teach you a lot about your partner as well.
I was about to say, like, especially in a new relationship, bringing your partner around your group of friends and seeing like how they all interact, if they all fit in together, I think that says a lot, because a lot of the
That fly
there's a
almost
fly.
flew
I'm
right
sorry,
in your
guys.
mouth.
I literally sucked one up my nose yesterday and it's still it okay. Anyways, what I was saying is that I think it says a lot about like the person you're with if they can like how they interact with your friends. And of course, your partner's not going to love all of your friends like you do, but I think the way they make an effort to interact with your friends. Like, have you ever been dating anyone and you bring them around your friends and they're just like kind of there and you're like, like please say something.
It's tough. And I think off of that, this is very important that most people don't talk about as well. Let's say your girl's friend group and your friend group might not all blend together. And I think it's up to you to kind of play matchmaker in the friend group to say, who from my friend group and who from your friend group do we think would all get along really well? Because inevitably, we're going to have some people in our groups that maybe are a little bit wild or maybe just don't blend with everybody. So I think when you are hanging out with these friends, you're also going to see who your partner's hanging out with. And a lot of times, who your person is spending time with can tell you a lot about you. the person themselves.
That's true. It's also really fun to bring both of your friend groups together. When it
Oh
works,
yeah.
it's beautiful. You're like, yes, this is perfect.
Because it's almost like you don't get to give up on your social life in the name of this relationship. And again, it depends. Everybody's different. Some people don't want to have a social life, but I think it is important to continue that relationship with your friends. And if both friend groups are getting along, it's like, wait, we don't have to compromise any time. This is beautiful.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. What about like family, like bringing your partner around your family and spending time with your family together?
I think that is very important as well, especially if you are in a serious relationship. If you think at all there's a chance that maybe we'll take things to the next level, I think it's very important to meet your partner's parents. It'll not only teach you a lot about them, it's going to see, you're going to be able to see where they came from. You're also going to be able to show your partner's parents that they're in good hands, they're going to treat them well. And I feel like the trust can build between you and your partner after they meet their parents. It's a little nerve wracking. The first time Kate met my parents was on our trip to Greece. She went to this country for the first time. It was her second time. She went to this new country for the first time, was out of her element, was hanging out with all of my friends, and then met my family for the first time in a foreign country. Big task, big pill to swallow, and she crushed it. And after just hanging out with my parents, I felt a lot closer to her.
Do you think it's like, and this could be, your answer could be controversial, it doesn't matter. How important do you think it is for your partner and your parents to like get along?
I think it is very important. They don't have to be best friends. They don't got to be communicating every day. In fact, I think that would be a little bit weird. But I think as long as your parents don't have any major red flags or major concerns about the relationship, I think that it is very important.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say so.
Like I know that I don't agree with everything. Man, this fly is relentless. I don't agree with everything my parents say. No kid is going to agree with everything. But if you have some sort of a relationship with your family, their opinion does matter.
I agree. Now, going back to the friend group thing too, you also you don't want your entire social life to be with your partner. Like
Absolutely not.
the friends you were hanging out with before, keep doing that. Keep hanging out with those friends. And you also like you don't want to be the girl who's always like when you invite her to something that like she's going to be like, "Oh, can I bring my boyfriend?" Like don't do that. There's just a time and a place for your partner to come along, and then there's times when it's just going to be you and your friends. And like you have to continue to grow those relationships outside of your partner.
You do. And I think you need to, going back to last episode, communicate if your partner's not willing to do this, the importance of this. Kate and I will say, we're phenomenal at being like, baby, go out tonight with your homies, do your thing, and I'll see you later on.
Even sometimes like if you like Will's random example, but Will's friend invited both of us to dinner the other night to like celebrate something for him. And I was like, no, like you just go with your friend. Like that should be something that you guys do together. And that should be something that you keep in mind, even if you are invited to something, like you don't always have to go. Let your partner have their time with their friends alone.
And this might be harder if all of your friends really enjoy your partner's company, if you love hanging out with your partner. Like I genuinely love spending time with Kate when I'm around my friends, and that could be just my guy friends, that could be both of our friends together. Um, but it's still important to note, hey, we got to keep those relationships up. If anything, for our friends' sake, not for our sake. I can hang out with this girl every single minute of every day, truthfully, but it is very important to have that separation and have your friends not want to be like, dude, come on, come on here.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry,
that
this fly is just unbelievably relentless. And if you're watching this, I've been like looking around like this, like probably a crazy person. If you can't see a fly, it's been just blasting us in the face this whole time.
and
Go ahead.
I know that in the beginning too, you guys are going to want to hang out together all the time. You're going to want to bring them with you to everything all the time. But in the beginning, like you kind of have to set a precedent, like, hey, a precedent, like, hey, I'm going to go do something with my friends and like you're not coming. Just every now and then, because number one, your friends are going to get annoyed. And number two, it is just so important for you to have a social life outside of your partner and keep up with your friendships in that way.
You got to continue doing the things that make you you. And let's say even outside of the friends, talk about hobbies. I love playing basketball. I love writing music. I love hiking. I love doing a whole bunch of different things. And I was doing those things by myself when no one was telling me what to do because I genuinely love them. Now, do I love doing all of those things with Kate as well? I do.
Did you swallow it? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh, wait, are you okay? Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
choking?
It went. Oh my gosh.
We killed the fly.
Did y'all see that?
Extra protein, baby.
Oh my goodness. It hurt me talking shit. I said, time to enter. Oh my gosh. Where was I? Basically, you got to continue doing these things that make you feel like you. And again, it's great to share those things, but being able to have that relationship with these hobbies alone is very important. And again, by the time you get back to hang out with your partner, you will feel so good. You're just doing things that make you feel like you.
Even outside of hobbies, and I told Will this from the beginning, and if you're a person that, Will recharges by being, out and being social and being with his friends. I'm a person who needs a lot of alone time to recharge. Even if I'm not doing a hobby, even if I'm sitting here staring at the wall by myself, I'm just the kind of person that really needs that. And I think communicating that in the beginning, whether you're more of, I need to be out and be social and yada yada, or I need to be alone, which with us it works because I can be like, okay, go. You know what I mean? But I think that just having your alone time, even just to be bored and do nothing, that's when you get to know yourself. And you have a relationship with yourself. You can't let that relationship suffer just because you get into another relationship. Just like the relationships with your friends, you don't want those to suffer. So, really spending time by yourself and making time to do that and communicating that to your partner, and also telling your partner, like, hey, do you want to be alone, do you want some alone time,
Mm.
checking in. Will's really good about that. He'll be like, you want me to just get out of the house? And sometimes I'm like, no, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, sure.
Well, I think I'm good about that because you did such a good job communicating that to me in a very respectful way when we first moved in. So, backstory, we have a 2-bedroom apartment, and I know everybody can't afford that. It can be difficult, but we felt like we'll spend a little bit extra money because I think it's important for us to be able to have our own space when we want it within our own house as well. It takes a lot of pressure off, I think, let's say the move-in process, but also within our own house, we recognize the importance of having our own space and alone time. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It is nice to have the whole house to yourself too, though.
It is. It really is, and that's why we really do encourage each other to get out of the house, go hang out with your friends, go do a hobby. Like, we love each other so much, and we genuinely love spending the time together. So we do have to force it,
For sure,
sometimes.
yeah.
But again, whenever we come back together, it just makes everything that much better.
Exactly. And like I said, you have this relationship with yourself. So when you do have your alone time, spend it really doing things you enjoy, or journal, or just think, actually spend time with yourself, get to know yourself. And that's how you grow. And then your partner, you're always going to be growing and evolving. And so your partner's going to see that, and you're working on yourself, and you're working on things by yourself. You're working on things together, so then all together, it's really good. Because if you're just working on things together, within your relationship, that's good. But you're leaving yourself behind a little bit.
Totally. And I guess the last thing I'll say about it is going back to just communicating it. Ask and check in with your partner and find out, like, hey, am I spending too much time with you? Am I spending too much time apart? Is there anything in terms of our time that could be improved? Like, can we improve the quality of the time we're spending? And that's across all aspects. And just being able to check in with one another and having that openness, very important. It'll make things a lot easier whenever you have some conflict.
I agree. I think all your time should be quality, baby.
Hey,
Whether together, whether apart, you know. Use your time wisely, kids.
let's get into the Q&A.
Okay. While Will's pulling this up, if you have any questions you want to ask us, any stories you want to tell, you can send them to beautyandthegreekshow@gmail.com. And Will's going to pull up one of these questions we got in the emails.
I don't see it saying that she wants to be kept anonymous, but for the sake of me not being sure, I'm going to keep her name anonymous. Hi, guys. I hope you're doing great. First of all, me and my boyfriend really enjoy your podcast, and it helps a lot to improve on our relationship, even if most of the time we relate a lot to what you're showing about your relationship.
Thanks, guys.
That's awesome. So here's my story. It's been a few months, and we are together now, spending all of our time and sleeping together every night at his or my place. We feel very special to each other and both confident about our relationship. Love that. He asked me if I wanted to live with him at his place multiple times because it's something that he wants. Now he asked again because I'm doing extremely expensive studies and might not afford to keep paying for it. It will at least help me out a lot. The thing is, I'm scared we might not have a lot of space. He has one big room which has his desk, the sofa, and a little bed area we would sleep in together. A bathroom we both can use, and a big kitchen with a table that he said can be my desk for working on my computer. And if one day I want to be alone, I can sleep on the sofa. I feel enthusiastic, but I feel like I might be a burden for him. Even if he says that I'm not, I still feel that way. What are your thoughts about it? Can you give me some advice? Thanks so much. And I'm going to leave her anonymous.
First of all, you're not going to be a burden. He was already asking you to live with him even before the financial stuff. So you're not going to be a burden. So don't worry about that. What you need to ask yourself is, do I want to move in with this person because of the financial stuff, or do I want to move in with this person because I want to take our relationship to the next step? Because what's after moving in together? It's, for most people, getting engaged and getting like whatever. So it's like you don't really go back after moving in together. Either you're going to be together or you're going to break up. So it's a really big decision. You know what I'm saying?
It is. And I will say, it sounds like he's living in a studio, and it might be a big studio apartment, but it is and will get a little bit tricky if there's not even one bedroom with a door on it, let alone two. And I'm not saying you don't enjoy spending all this time together, but it does make things a little bit trickier if you're just in one large space with somebody else. So, what I would say is if you're not too worried about the space and you forget about worrying about being a burden, because just like Kate said, you're not being a burden. He wouldn't be asking you multiple times if he felt like you were being a burden. I think I would ask myself, is this space going to potentially be a problem for me? And if you do have any doubts or reservations about it, I would maybe hold off and say, hey, I would love to move in with you, but I just don't know if I'm going to be comfortable and I could see myself doing this in this small space. Maybe when we get a larger apartment, we can talk about that.
And I mean, especially because you're in school and you're going to be studying, you kind of, and it depends on how you study, I guess, too, but you kind of do need your own space to like lock in and do that. At least that's how I am. And you may feel like, okay, I kind of need some quiet and stuff to study right now, but he's here and he's doing something and he's making noise, but I don't want to be rude and say, like, shut up, I'm trying to study, or anything like that, because it's like, it will get a little bit tricky with that, like Will said, because it sounds like it is just like a studio apartment.
And I totally understand the aspect of like, oh, it's going to save us a lot of money. And that is a thing, and it will save you some money. But that's never a good reason to move in with someone for a financial situation. Because if that is your main reason, which it doesn't sound like that is the case with y'all. It sounds like you genuinely have a lot of love for each other, which is amazing. Just by gauging that email, it seems very healthy. And it seems like you found a guy who really does care about your well being. And that's amazing. So, first off, congratulations. You seem really happy. If you are really, really happy with this person and you spend already so much time together, I don't think this is necessarily a bad idea. If you feel like you can get over the space, while for me that might be an issue for me personally, if that's not for you, I would say go for it. You could always move out.
I would just say, bottom line, ask yourself, am I moving in with this person because I really love them and I want to be with them and I want to live with them? Or am I doing it for financial reasons? And look, two can exist at the same time as long as the financial reasons isn't like number one.
Totally.
Because, you said he's been asking you, and now with the financial stuff, he's asking you again. Don't say yes now just because of the financial stuff. If you're going to say yes now because you're like, no, I actually really want to live with this person.
And I think I never really thought about this until now, but a lot of guys, we're natural problem solvers, right? So we think about it like this logically. If I am dating someone, like I was dating Kate for many months, and I realized, wait, we are literally spending every night together, sleeping in the same bed. We're paying for two rents. Is this the most logical? Could we be saving money? And of course, that's always going to be a thing that's going to come up. But just like Kate said, as long as that's not the number one reason, that's not necessarily a bad reason at all, too.
Yeah, I agree. As long as it's not the main reason, you really want
You're
to
going to
be,
save some money for sure.
yeah, you're going to save money. That's going to be great. But, you want to be sure, like, that the main reason is because you love this person and want to live with them.
I would also say have a couple disagreements under your belt at this point.
Yeah.
If you haven't had any major fights or any blowouts, I would almost, and I'm not saying force a fight with your boyfriend, or even when you do get in a fight, it doesn't have to be a blowout. So take that with a grain of salt. But I'm saying you want to see how you get in arguments, or when there's a disagreement, how do y'all deal with it? And that's very important, because inevitably when you do move in with your person, especially if it's a big studio apartment, you're gonna have disagreements, you're gonna have fights. And if you haven't had any examples or precedents set that you can take from and say, hey, how could this potentially be when we're dating? You might want to wait a little bit, because that shows me that you haven't had those experiences yet to maybe move forward. I'll say this, I don't think that there is a right time. 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years. I think that comes from within and comes from your relationship dynamic. But like I said, if you haven't had these kind of disagreements and little quarrels under your belt, you might not want to move so fast.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Listen to your heart.
Listen to your soul. I mean, we we moved in, I think, relatively quickly after dating. But again, we felt like we were in the right position in our lives. We both had an extremely amazing gut feeling about one another. We both felt, I'll speak for myself, I felt passion and love and loyalty to this human being, like something I've never experienced in my life. I felt it being reciprocated, and I know exactly what I want out of my life. So I think, again, if you can answer all of those questions and you feel that way with your person, let it ride.
And I think we'd had some disagreements. We'd traveled together, so we saw what it looked like when the other person was like frustrated or in a situation they had to deal with. We kind of had already seen most like parts of sides of the other person that can come out.
She met my family. I met her family.
Yeah. So, and we'd like had a lot of discussions about it, kind of about how it would be. I was staying with him a lot too, like you are. And so we were just seeing like we kind of got a little test drive of how that would be.
And that's a really good point. You said something smart that we didn't bring up. It sounds like you already are doing this and you're not rushing into it. It's something that's been brought up multiple times. But for anybody else listening right now, don't rush into this. This is a big decision. If once it gets brought up, don't just say, yeah, let's do it. And then within a week, move into each other. Really think about it. Really think about the positives, the negatives. We thought about it for a little bit. We weren't really sure if it was the right decision or if we were moving too fast, but we ultimately decided, hey, why wouldn't we do this? It was a overwhelming yes, but we didn't rush into it. In the sense of when we first brought it up, we talked about it for a while. We figured out that, what, it is the right decision.
Yeah. And if you have a partner, just this is for anyone in general, but if you have a partner that is wanting you to move in or is asking you to move in, like, don't feel pressure from that either. Like, it's okay to say no and just say, like, I'm not ready. And, that's not like an insult or anything. It's just like a personal decision. And, like I'm in my late 20s. I think if I were in my early 20s, like I would live on my own just because you got to build some character, you know?
That's such a good point. And living by yourself, I think, teaches you a lot about who you are as a person, which then helps you find your perfect partner.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think, if you're a little bit younger too, I would live by myself as much as I mean, I had roommates, and so from that point I'd live by myself for maybe 2, 3 years or something. And I think that's really important in your 20s to have a time where you don't have any roommates and you're just living strictly by yourself.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. So yeah, hopefully you've had that time, but it sounds like you have been somewhat patient. It sounds like y'all really love each other. And I would say nobody knows the situation like you, and trust your gut, you know? If it steers you wrong, then we can go from there. But
Yeah.
overall, you know what's the right thing for you. So it sounds like y'all got a really good situation. So good luck.
Yeah.
And
Good luck.
hopefully whatever y'all decide to do, it goes really well.
Yeah.
If y'all have any other questions, you can submit all of them to beautyandthegreekshow@gmail.com.
Submit those questions, baby.
Get them in, get them in, get them in.
And hey, if you're watching this episode and you like it, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're listening, leave a little rating, leave a little review.
Love a rating, love a
Share it.
review.
Put it on your story.
Share
Tell your friend. If you
it.
have a friend that you think needs to hear something this episode, tell your friend.
Let them know.
Be a good friend.
Beauty
Come
and the
on.
Greek is here to help.
But thank you guys so much for listening. We really enjoyed this time with y'all. And we'll see you next Monday.
We'll see you next Monday, baby.
Happy
Yes,
4th of July. That's what's
Happy
happening, right?
4th.
Woo!
Happy birthday, America. Come on. Let's go.
Yasas Malakas.
Yes.